Hello, friends. How are you doing this fine evening? First of all, let me state the obvious that yes, I am wearing makeup, which is uh, fun times. We just did a photo shoot with my band, and yeah, it was really fun. So we put on the makeup, and it's helped me realize uh, this is just kind of a side note, but it does relate. So maybe not so much of a side note um, is that sometime this summer, I I had to find it on the internet of what it was exactly. I identify as somebody who is gender free. Uh, there are things that I like that are traditionally women, like I wear some women's clothes and now traditional women's clothes. What would be traditional, like what people would think of the women would wear, but I also do the same as male, and I don't like to live in those confines of either one, which is tough in the world of higher education and trying to make it here at Boise State University. I'll just be honest, a lot of people in first meeting me think that I'm gay. It probably doesn't help that I refer to Ari as my partner. I do that consciously because I don't want to go into any gender roles that way either. And I'm actually okay with people thinking I'm gay. That rhymed. And that's perfectly fine with me. I want to go through the assignment backwards. I want to start first with the problem because what is the situation and how would I like it to be better? So, my situation is the dress code as it has been. I wanted to actually read the dress code for the office that I'm in right now. And here it is. Dress code. Our objective in establishing a dress code is to allow our employees to work comfortably in the workplace, yet still project a professional image for our customers, both internal and external. A professional image. What do we mean by that? Anyway, business casual dress is the standard for this dress code. Because not all casual clothing are suitable for the office, these guidelines will help you determine what is appropriate to wear to work. Morality. Clothing that works well for the beach, yard, work, dance clubs, exercise sessions, and sport contests are not appropriate, morality, for a professional appearance at work. Clothing that reveals too much cleavage, your back, your chest, your stomach, or your underwear, all targeting women's clothing, not men, traditional women's clothing, is not appropriate for a place of business, even in business casual setting. Clothing should be clean and presentable with no tears or holes. Inappropriate attire for work includes spaghetti strap tank tops, women's, midriff tops, women's, sheer clothing showing lingerie, women's, shirts with words, terms, logos, educational institution name, or logos other than Boise State. I can understand that one. Pictures, cartoons, or slogans, and halter tops, women. Further examples of inappropriate attires include sweatpants, short or tight skirts, women's, shorts, flip-flops, slippers, and baseball caps. I think no baseball caps is now both. I was going to say that's the only one for men, but no. Appropriate dress code. Appropriate dress includes slacks, sweaters, casual shirts, or dress shirts, casual dresses and skirts, and suit or sports jackets. Capri pants must come below the knee to avoid being classified as shorts. There is an exception because I'm classified staff, so it says classified staff wearing blue jeans during the week is permitted if the whole look is business casual, blazer, sweater, blouse, polo, Oxford, or dressy vest with clean and neat jeans, or if they are accompanied by Boise State attire, example, polo or Oxford style shirt, vest, sweater. I want this to be changed. I've been talking a lot this whole semester about changing that, and I think I have an in. So at our last staff meeting for the customer service part of financial aid, it was brought up microaggressions, and it suddenly occurred to me as we began to talk about microaggressions that perhaps dress code is a form of microaggression because it's targeting people in LGBTQ. It's targeting people who don't see themselves as non-binary. I definitely targets women. It's microaggression towards them and their bodies. And honestly, I felt a little attacked too. I don't know if I could quite put it in words until this semester, but I was unsure. I remember at my interview, like I said, I take off my uh, the polish on my nails. I would obviously never wear makeup like this to work because of that code. I think it's not specifically implied, but I think it's still there. So I did. I wrote a Facebook post most recently that got a ton of conversation. I put office dress codes are microaggressions pretending to be policy, just to throw it out there, and just had a lot of the same things about business attire, what is appropriate, who is distracted, and yeah. So we had this meeting where we talked about it, and I actually brought up this idea that who decides what's appropriate, who decides what's professional. And we are handed down these dress codes from just decades ago of when white, rich men were in power, and they brought this upon all of us. And so now here we are, this is the situation, and now it's so ingrained. I think as I look at one of these contrasts, one of the big contrasts is that fast thinking versus slow thinking. And so fast thinking is when you think fastly, these are the things that we have been brought up to believe. This is our culture. This is our things like, of course you wouldn't wear this or that thing in a professional environment, but why? Like, what if we were to stop that fast thinking and just slow it down a bit and say, why? Why can't we be deliberate about this? What would it mean if we didn't have a dress code? What would it mean if people could wear shorts? Like, what would that society look like? What if we gave people, adults, complete independence and autonomy in how they wished to present themselves at work? And so this is the kind of conversation that I would want to have. And as I began to think through this, I began to deconstruct and dismantle my own ideas, because I want to deconstruct this in my own life. Like, one of the big things about dress codes is that you don't want to be distracted, have this distracted way. And well, whose fault is it when somebody's distracted? Like, really deconstruct that, really think about that. And where do we want the responsibility to lie? Do we want it to be on the person whose bra strap is showing and say, put on a shirt? Or do we want to put it on the one who's distracted? The one who can't keep their eyes and their thoughts to themselves? Maybe they're the problem in the workplace instead of the person showing their bra strap. Because if we want to take that, if we want to stop again and slow think through that, then we would have to say any time that somebody is distracted by another body, then that person who is doing the distracting would have to put on a layer of clothing. And that seems just a little bit ridiculous. So I think that that's definitely one contrast as we begin to think through that. And I just want to know, as I begin to try to solve this problem and work it through, because there's going to be more conversations, is when was this policy last looked at critically? We've had this policy for how long? How many years has this policy gone on without it changing? I think these are important questions. So as I began to think about how to solve this problem, I could go about it a couple different ways, and looking at it in two different ways. I think there's that whole quantified versus qualified way. I like I'm an ethnographer, as you all knew, my little blow up on Wednesday, and how would I treat this if I were to do ethnography? I think for one thing, I would go autoethnography. I would share my own struggle, my own insecurity showing up to the office the first day in one of my oversized women's sweaters, or with my colored hair, or finally when I put my uh, my colored my nails again, so I could talk about my own insecurity and how this dress code helped to enforce my insecurity instead of try to wash it away. And so as I think about quantitatives, there's my own story. So I could go autoethnography, but I could also talk to other people in the office. I know that there are others that work at that office that identify with LGBTQ, or maybe I could even talk to women who feel constrained by that. Maybe I could talk to men too, and ask if they're distracted and what that means. And I could build a profile, and I could really make the case that these are outdated codes and outdated rules and outdated policy, and probably microaggressive, if that's a word. So I think that if I were to approach this problem qualitatively, ethnographically, I would do it that way. What if I wanted to do it quantitatively, though? Like, what if I wanted to go more anthropological? What sort of idea? How could I quantify something like this? I think a lot of it has to do with feelings, right? Can you quantify feelings? Could I say on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are you with this policy? Is that still too qualified? Is that still too quantified? And is this a problem that we can even quantify? One of the big issues with this is that we need to be professional for the moms and the dads and the lawmakers, apparently, or people giving money to this. And so how do we quantify that? Like, how can we reproduce it? Like an office that's an office where everybody's wearing suits and ties, and then maybe they're more productive, and maybe they get more money, and maybe they do those things, and maybe one that's dressed like a little bit more like provocatively, maybe they would get less money. But then again, we have to think through that, and is this what we want the bottom line to be? Like, is this the bottom line? Is this what we want? And I think that's what I like about ethnography is this is a complex solution or a complex problem. And it calls for a complex solution. Or maybe there is no solution. And I guess maybe that's the negative of ethnography, is I can just tell a bunch of stories, and I can make people feel, but does that really change things? Does that cause change? Or are we back to anarchy? Does the change start with me? Do I need to change? Do I need to go right on the edge? It's so funny. My partner and I talk about all the different things that aren't in that policy. Maybe we start breaking not the rules of the policy, but find out loopholes in the policy. Dress in a way that we know is going to get stuff and to show how ridiculous it is. And maybe that's the problem with design in the first place, is that maybe people aren't ready for change. And that seems bleak. So I told you we did a photo shoot, and I felt so. I always do every time I'm with my band. I feel more myself than at any other time, and I definitely feel least myself when I'm at work. And if work is something that we do 40 hours a week and we work more than we do anything else and we can't even be ourselves at work, what sort of society are we creating? People of pretenders. A society that's compartmentalized, where we can't even bring our most authentic selves to the place where we spend our most time. All for the sake of money. It's the world we live in, friends. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching.